Welcome, bourbon fans, to our next podcast. We have, it's not a podcast, is it? Now I fucked that up. We'll start that over. So, all right, ready?
I think I can cut and paste.
Well, I feel like podcast. So, welcome, bourbon fans, to our next video. I hope you've enjoyed the previous ones. Today's video is going to be about rye whiskey. So, for those of you that are not rye guys, we hope that, and rye gals, we don't really ladies out. We hope that you will maybe listen to this and go out and try some new rye whiskeys. So we do have a couple things that we'll go over with this one. First of all, the ryes that we chose are all like pretty easily available ryes. I don't think none of these are difficult to come across at this point. And they're all typically around $50 or down. So again, want to introduce the panel first of all. To my left,
I'm Virginia Triplett with Whiskey University.
JR with Whiskey and Rock Podcast.
Dave Waddell with Whiskey University.
So we got a couple of Whiskey U grads here with us, and a wonderful genius guy. He's the attorney of the bunch, so he's the smartest of us all anyway. So so talk about rye whiskey, because a lot of people don't understand a lot about rye whiskey. They just think rye and they think harsh flavors and spicy tones, etc. But rye is a multitude, a variety of notes and things that we see. And the market has just really opened up for ryes in the last few years. To the point where we're seeing a ton of really, really good ryes out there. So really quick. So rye can really be broken up into like pre-prohibition and post-prohibition. So we're going to talk a little bit about the three styles of rye, which are Maryland, Kentucky, and Monongahela. Those are the three major ones. There are other ones. And I'm going to give an honorable mention to a Tennessee rye here during the video as well. But when we talk about those particular brands, what we really are talking about are the percentage of ryes in the mash bill today. Again, these are not legal definitions. Most of them are historical, because you'll see that the brands have been moved along and they don't keep with the original mash bills. So pre-prohibition, they used more of a sweet mash with the mash bill. So we didn't see a lot of the sour mashes that we're seeing today when the brands have been sold and moved, etc. Again, just an example, Michter's wasn't produced originally in Kentucky. Now it is. So, those kinds of things that you're going to see as you see the rise in what we're talking about today. But a Maryland rye is typically a rye that's between 56 and 80% rye in the mash bill. You'll see in the video, again, not always. And it's more of a historical name. And a Kentucky rye is what we refer to as a barely legal rye. 51 to 55%. Again, you're just getting over that threshold of being able to call yourself a rye whiskey. We still do refer to, though, as some bourbons as high rye, even though they're not 51%, because they can't be by definition. It has to be 51% corn to be a bourbon. So if you have a rye bourbon, then you have 51% corn still. But you could have a really high amount of rye in it. And then the last one is a Monongahela rye. So a Monongahela rye, typically, again, from the Monongahela region, and they're 80 plus. So you get some really big ones. The first one that comes to mind for me is Bullet. Mm-hmm. Bullet's a 95.5, so 95% rye, a lot of rye. And the top selling, actually, rye whiskey is Bullet. Bullet is number one on the list. Jim Beam rye is number two. Sazerac rye is number three. Rittenhouse number four. And the fifth one is Knob Creek, which is a really good one as well. But we're not sampling that one today, unfortunately. So what we're going to start with today, now that we've done our introductions and kind of talked a little bit about rye whiskey, is we are going to start with two. We picked two from every region. So, or at least the original regions. So for starters, our Maryland style ryes today are Pikesville and Sagamore. So we are drinking a special bottle of Sagamore today. This is the Baltimore Ravens release of Sagamore. This is the original one. They have done, I think, one other one since, and I think that might become an annual thing for them. So, as a Ravens fan, I'm assuming I'll be investing. So we have our two Kentuckys. So today's Kentucky ryes are going to be Sazerac and Rye 101 with Wild Turkey. And then our Monongahela ryes are going to be Rittenhouse. And in my opinion, the best one, Michter's. So again, I'm partial though. So Michter's is my baby. But again, so our first pour is going to be the Sagamore, sorry. So we're going to do the Sagamore rye first. So this is the first one. Again, this is not their regular edition. This is their Ravens release from 2022? No, 23.
Now, MJ, does this have a different juice in it than their standard Sagamore Spirit
I-
rye.
I think it's just aged a little longer.
Okay.
I don't think there's a really big difference. The bottle's mostly
Just pretty.
so that people like me will go buy it. So
All right, let's see what we got here.
nose-wise is sweet, actually.
It is very
It is.
sweet.
So I will tell you, we don't know the exact mash bill for Sagamore Standard Rye. We do know, though, that it is a blend of 2 ryes. So when you're drinking Sagamore, you're not drinking just 1 rye.
Mhm.
You're actually drinking 2. That's how they make their regular ryes. Of course, they make nothing but ryes.
I'm not getting a lot of complexity out of this one, out of the nose. I get the sweetness, but I don't get a ton of complexity here.
I don't get the classic mint on the nose.
No.
No, I mean,
Yeah, it's not like a standard rye nose.
Mm.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And again, this is what we're seeing in the market with ryes, though. Huge varieties of different rye flavors and notes. Everybody's used to the spices and the earthier tones, but this rye can really stretch out.
Yeah, have a lot of variety.
Yes,
So I just jumped into the flavor profile. We're still
I like a little oil in the
Yeah.
finish.
a little bit of oil.
Mm.
It's really easy to drink. It's a nice one to drink, really.
Yeah.
Surprisingly sweet, actually. I wasn't expecting it to be that sweet.
I get a little bit of the spice on the back end.
A little bit.
Just
I
a
was gonna
little.
say
It's not got a lot
Yeah, to
of.
me, for being an 83 proof, it's got a little more spice than I would have expected it to have.
That's true. With that proof being where it's at.
I
But
get,
again,
I get a lot of the spice on the back end of the palate.
And it kind of lingers for a little bit.
Yeah. It's like a spice cake almost, like with the icing.
Mhm.
That's what I'm getting here.
Nice. Man, I wish I was getting that. That sounds good.
It does sound
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Thoughts?
I like it.
Good.
I say,
It's good.
yeah,
Good.
I
It's
like
good.
it.
Yeah.
This is a fresh crack, so again, we were drinking neck for you.
Mm.
So our second one from the Maryland style region is Pikesville. So Pikesville is probably I'm be biased here. Pikesville's probably my top 5. I mean, I know it's in my top 5. It just depends on the days where it's ranked.
Right.
But Pikesville's an excellent rye. Tons of awards. That obviously the brand has changed hands a few times.
Mhm.
But again, still just this fantastic one. So huge fan of this one. The mash bill on Pikesville, it is a 51% rye mash bill. So 35 on the corn and 14 malted barley. So a little higher on the malted barley than we typically would see, rye mash bill. But again, that is the mash bill. And it is a Maryland rye. As far as the goes.
And it's 110 proof.
And at least 6 years old.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's an older.
Yeah, it's got a little age on it, which might be a big help, obviously. Because I'll tell you, it's one, obviously, that,
This one smells phenomenal.
oh, it's great news.
Yeah.
Great news. Great
I'm getting
news.
some caramel corn on the nose with this one. Yeah.
I get a little Tootsie Roll on the nose with this one.
Oh.
Tootsie Roll.
Surprising.
You know you
yeah.
gotta do the Tootsie Roll dance when you smell Tootsie Roll.
I wouldn't even know what that is, so you can go ahead and do
Really?
it for me.
Well, I happen to know
That's
what
what
it
I'm
is.
thinking.
Oh, you do? Well, then have at it.
I'm going to. There's no
we
room
can
for me
just
to
do
get
the
up.
Tootsie Roll
We're good.
in the
It's good.
chair. You can
It's
just
good. This isn't a dance show. That will be our next episode.
whiskey and dancing.
Whiskey and dancing. No
in
one
that
wants
order,
that.
too. In that order.
In that order, you have to have the whiskey before the dancing.
Well, not always.
Not always.
Yeah,
Not
start
always.
saying,
Maybe you
but
have to dance for
but-
whiskey, which leads to more dancing.
You get better in your mind as you go.
Yeah. Well, this has a really great flavor profile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah. I do get a little bit of menthol, almost a little bit of eucalyptus here. Not a lot. It's just a little bit of a cooling effect. With this
I
one.
would say
Okay.
the same.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
very
like,
sweet.
it's yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's got some sweetness.
Yeah.
It does, but it's almost got that airy type.
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep breath when you step outside in the morning, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
And
very
it's
nice.
cool outside.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, for me, this is sort of, we'll say this is one of those ryes that if I'm telling you, besides Michter's, and maybe this was second rye. If you're trying rye for the first time, this might be what you want to try. Again, it's not harsh. I don't get any. I don't get a lot of harsh spice notes or anything like that. But and surprisingly, with the proof, I don't drink the proof on this either. This is not to me at least.
No, drinks below is proof.
Well, yeah. So it's very. This is a sipper.
Yeah,
definite sipper.
I do get the chocolate, like you were saying, Dave. I get kind of almost a hint of an Andes mint flavor profile here. Not a full. It's not that strong of a flavor, but it's like a hint of that.
Man, I'm on your palate today. Spice cake and Andes mint. Man,
Yeah.
I don't get the Andes mint, but I definitely get the menthol note out of it.
Yeah.
I get that Andy's kind of on the far back of the
The
palate.
far back palate. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. It's like the leftover profile.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting some wood on the nose. That's towards the bottom of the glass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I eat too much over the last couple of days?
It was
So,
Thanksgiving.
I guess, yeah. So we're filming a couple days after Thanksgiving right now. So
Yeah. So happy
You know,
Thanksgiving, you
I've
guys.
put on some weight. The camera edged 10 pounds. So
That's why he's wearing a black shirt.
yeah.
Oh, wait, why am I wearing a black shirt?
Black as snow. I was trying to say you were eating here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
Cheers.
hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving, by the way. But good. Oh, in my opinion,
Best one we've had so far.
yeah. Best one we've had so far. Not knocking second.
Best one I just tasted.
So those are our Maryland style ryes. Those are the two that we're drinking from the Maryland region originally, at least from a historical note. So we're going to jump into the Monongahela region next with Rittenhouse and Michter's. So if you would like to go ahead and do a little rinse out on the glasses there, I'm going to talk about Whiskey University really quick. First of all, for those of you that don't know, Whiskey University is we are where taste and history combine, and it is we teach online, we teach in local markets. The numbers just keep growing. The school has grown exponentially, and yes, by the way, for those of you that don't know, Whiskey University is an actual school. I get that a lot, and I say that people, you can actually do. Yes, you can. So look us up at whiskeyunev.com. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try and reply to everything that I can. Again, the university's done wonderful things for me. It brings people together, much like what bourbon does, in my opinion. We're sitting here hanging out, and you just can't beat hanging out with some bourbon people and being able to talk about bourbon and talk about other things. And you just, I don't care if you can't find any other common ground. Bourbon's a good one, and it'll work out too. So, I commonly hang out with a guy that I think I would disagree with on about everything else. So, but anyway, bourbon's like that. So, and we are that way with the university. The video, in fact, we started this video series just to show how much fun the university is and how great the people are that we're meeting and getting to spend time with. Great, and we do have over 120 classes that you can take. So, if you're into your region, if you're in the West Coast, and in 2025, we are jumping the pond to Europe, as we just learned recently. So the Europeans will get to join us as well here. We'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to that. So while we're kind of at a good point, talk about your podcast for a little bit. He's a wonderful podcast. If you're not listening to it, you need to start listening to it. I'm serious. It's good.
Yeah.
So
it's the Whiskey and Rock podcast. We review new offerings and bottles. We do interviews with master distillers and distillery owners, taste through their lines with them, which is always fun to kind of compare your notes to the people that actually create it. And then, we interview rock stars. We just had the Van Zants on a recent episode. So you had the lead singer from Leonard Skinner and from 38 Special, and they've got a new record out, and Skinner has a whiskey out. So we got to drink that with them and review that, and a lot of fun.
see, that good a podcast. I'm telling you, you got to listen to it. So give it a listen. You'll give it more listens if you give it one. So, and I will tell you, I did. So, again, and you do hear some interesting things from the distillers and what you guys take. It's actually really interesting to hear, the differences in things, because distillers have their palates and their consumers have theirs, and everybody's palate is different.
And one thing we've learned from them, on point to today's episode, is rye is a nightmare for them to work with.
Yes.
Because it kind of clogs up their fermenters and all that sort of stuff. So it's, usually when you go to the store, you might see it's probably about $10 more for a rye than it would be for a bourbon. So there's an added cost to that, because they're basically having to clean everything out and start fresh when they go back to making bourbon. But So it's more of a labor of love due to the Ryes.
Yeah.
I as a self-acclaimed rye guy, and you can look around my bar here. There's rye everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm a huge rye guy. I have some things that I like that other people don't, and some things that I don't like that other people do. In fact, we're about to talk about one of them.
Mhm.
So for me, Monongahela region is a clash of opinion for me and of taste profiles. So we're going to talk about which one's the Michter's.
Michter's is on,
No, on my end.
on yours is left.
Okay. So
Rittenhouse
let's
is
start
right.
with Rittenhouse. So
Okay.
Rittenhouse is a top 5 selling rye in market today. Yet it is one of my least favorites. But I'll be blunt. It's rare that I meet anyone who has my opinion on that. So let's talk about Rittenhouse really quick.
I get a lot of that ryegrass, the green ryegrass on the nose.
I get soap.
So
It tastes like it
interesting.
smells like soap to me.
I don't want to talk about what I'm getting. And it's not a knock on Rittenhouse. This is what they've done. And they've done a good job, obviously, because it sells and people love it. But for me, for some strange reason, all I'm getting is like bathroom at a hockey game.
This is one of the top selling ryes though for cocktails. So
Yes. Oh, yeah.
it's and as I get into the palate, I can see why. The nose is not one of my favorites at all. But the palate is a little sweet. It's got enough complexity to bring out good flavor profiles in a cocktail, I think.
Yeah.
It's got to me, the palate's pretty grainy as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So it is very sweet, but that grain really kind of settles there in the middle of your palate. And I'm with MJ. I think this isn't one of my more favorite ryes.
Yeah.
There's many on the list that come ahead of this one, but there's enough rye spice in here to stand up in a cocktail. So I think that's why it's a great mixer.
Yeah, without taking over the flavor profiles of your cocktail. It's a great one to add in there.
I could see this being a decent old fashioned just because of that. Because it's going to stand up on its own. It's not going to, and again, it's not being as big, I think I'm probably even less of a fan than you are. Because to me, this is like, I don't know, this takes me to like, feel like I'm 4 years old and I'm eating dirt from my garden.
Let's say, there's a hay that lingers on the back of the palate for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little barnyard.
Mm-hmm.
So, despite all of this, it's one of the top selling ryes in the country. And again, like I don't run into a ton of people that have a lot to say negatively to say about Rittenhouse. So, and I know people that absolutely love it when I teach classes. In fact, this is one that everybody just typically loves. So, but you will get, and this actually goes to a further point with bourbon. There's no wrong answer. If you don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's why there are so many brands. And like I've told distillers to their face, I just didn't care for it. They understand. They're not dumb. They know that there's, certain brands that are going to hit you and some aren't.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But again,
I do like the nose better than you guys did, though. I think it's got some sweetness on it that I like.
see,
The palate is opening up to me though. I think transitioning from this style into this, the first few sips were not great.
Last sip
but
was
it's better now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this bottle's been open for a few years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it doesn't get better when you continue to sip it, though. It
It
stays
gets
about
better
the
for
same.
me.
I bought this bottle
Yeah.
to teach classes with because it shows up in classes quite, with the university. We talk about Ryes.
Yep.
It's in at least 3 classes that I'm aware of. And since the university has grown so much and we're over 120 plus classes, and like people ask me all the time, 120 classes on bourbon? I'm like, you're just not thinking about all the aspects and the things and the brands and the distilleries and the regions. I mean, we have California whiskeys. I'm told they drink whiskey out there. Some of them are pretty good. We have an entire Texas whiskey class and the northeastern region. I mean, it's not just Kentucky and Tennessee, and even though we're in Tennessee, and I will tell you, those 2 areas are the homeland. If you're gonna pilgrimage somewhere, you're gonna be in Tennessee or Kentucky.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's so much good stuff happening all around the country now.
Yeah.
When it comes to bourbon and even around the world with different things, and whether it be other whiskeys, Indian whiskeys or Japanese whiskeys or Irish whiskeys or, whatever. So, again, don't be afraid to try anything. Sometimes you'll be stunned at things that you like. Yep. So I'm going to rinse the glass out after that one.
Really well.
Yep. Chugging water like it was bourbon.
Yep.
So the next one, this is how far-fetched we're going, is Michter's. So Michter's is one of the older brands in the United States. People don't know this, but started a really long time ago. And still their Shanks and Bombergers releases every year are highly sought after. Most years they're both amazing. I think I tend to favor the Bombergers to the Shanks typically. But some years it's the opposite. Yeah. Michter's people, I love you. I'll just be blunt. I have the Michter's store scares me because my credit card starts burning walking in there. Yeah. I do have one request. If you love the video, send me a 25-year.
Me too.
Just saying.
Send us all.
I'm giving you a good talk here. But this is the rye that brought me to Ryes, and that's why it's so substantial to me. I had 3 or 4 ryes previous to this, as I was really trying to get introduced to ryes and things like that. And this is the one that once I had, I was like, that's a rye? And yes, it is just,
it smells
it
amazing.
is lovely all around. They should make a candle out of this.
I bet
say
they do.
God. They probably do. That's true. And they probably sell it for like $50.
Yeah.
But it is just amazing on the nose. It has a very
great sweetness, like
it's got a nice perfumey type, rosy, nose to it. It's really, to me at least, it doesn't. It's just lovely on the nose. Lovely.
I do get like a very balanced complexity out of this one, out of the nose on this one.
And this is, I don't want to think about what bottle this is that I've gotten. So. And if you go to the distillery, if you go to Fort Nelson, you can. I started to say, if you go to Fort Nelson, they'll give you. Oh, they don't give you. You have to pay for it, but you can buy a Fort Nelson version. It's still the same stuff, and then they'll personalize it for you. Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate it. So again, you can do that, but it's still the same juice. You just pay a little bit more for the label, I guess. But I apparently found it worth it. So
it's delicious.
You were in the moment, MJ.
Mm-hmm. I was. And that bar upstairs is lovely. That is another wonderful, wonderful place.
It is, definitely. If you guys are in Louisville, definitely go to Michter's and hit the bar upstairs.
So what are you getting on the palate with this, Dave?
It's actually more earthy than I was expecting it to be from the sweetness I got on the nose.
Okay.
There's actually a little bit of a drying effect. So yeah, it's good though. I mean, it's a little bit earthy, a little bit drying, but very good.
That's good. You mentioned roses. The floral notes, and I guess my palate is on point today because I'm imagining being in a garden and you're getting the florals from the flowers. You're getting, like, imagine it just rained, so you're getting that earth that's coming through, like you're talking about, Dave.
Yep.
And I'm just getting everything with it. I'm getting the greens, I'm getting the spices, I'm getting the florals, I'm getting the earth, the dirt, like that, just all of it. I'm getting all of it really well balanced with this.
And just because we didn't mention this, Michter's is a mash bill. We don't know 100% of the mash bill. We do know that it's 55 to 60% rye. So it's getting in that little higher range, 35 to 40% corn. So the sweetness and the sweet smelling and those kinds of kind of make sense with that. And only 5% malted barley. And of course, their barrel entry proof, as they're well known for, is lower than most. So I mean, I will tell you, I actually think that's a huge thing. So. But again, just personal opinion. And then the Rittenhouse is a true, to me, Kentucky rye because it is 51%. Right. So it's 51% rye, 37% corn, and 12% malted barley. So again, a little higher on the malted barley there as well, so what you see. But moving on to Kentucky, while we're doing that, I do want to give an honorable mention to, because Tennessee always comes before Kentucky, in my opinion. Sorry, the Tennessee guy. Is Rummy Man. So Rummy Man is a rye whiskey that's made in East Tennessee by Sugarlands. Most of you are going to know Sugarlands for the creams and the moonshines and those kinds of things. But they also make a rye whiskey. And this is its first release in a 750. They've been doing it for a few years in a 375. The thing I loved about this release, they did not change the price. The price of the 375 is the price of the 750, which I think was remarkable. Greg, awesome job on that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wonderful bottle of rye whiskey. It is in my top 5. We are not sampling this today, just for sake of time on the video. But at the same time, great job. If you get the opportunity to try a Roaming Man, try it. It will not disappoint you. So, especially if you're a rye person. So, what are we? Sagamore?
You ready for Sagamore again?
Back to Sagamore.
Sazerac and Wild Turkey.
Yeah. Okay. So we also want to give a special shout out and thanks to another Whiskey U guy, Ryan Daniel, who is standing behind the camera, because he is an awesome dude. Hey, Ryan. And he makes all of this possible. So without him, none of this happens. So we thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Appreciate it. So he does all of our videos. He has to look at my face as we sit here and
That
talk
is
about
hard.
this. I know. I'm going back. I have a face made for radio. It's okay. But anyway, he does a great job on the editing and things along those lines. Absolutely great job. We appreciate it. Thank you. So,
He also keeps us in check when we can't get things
Yes.
together right here.
or if it looks like I'm doing something wrong, which happens a lot. He's sitting there. There's a hand signal, and I love that. By the way, I just again.
We really should have a video or a
Angie
camera
should-
here.
Angie should be the camera guy, but then again, we'd never get anywhere because I do something wrong all the time. So, Angie's my lovely wife. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. So, thank you. Without her, none of this is possible.
That's right.
I know. She cooks for the after show. So, you know.
That's why we come.
No one really likes bourbon as much, but she cooks.
Yeah,
So it's all
we
good.
love the food.
So, the first one we're having here
Which one?
is the Turkey 101, I believe. I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. So Wild Turkey 101. Wild Turkey is Michter's. They are right there next to Michter's as far as my love goes. Wild Turkey 101 is one of the top selling brands as well. Wild Turkey sells. Oh my goodness, they're 101, the bourbon, and
Yeah.
they're just phenomenal across the board. This is another one I think that really does a good job of standing up in cocktails. So if you are into cocktails and you like Ryes and cocktails, this is another one I think stands up really.
Yeah.
You know, it's a complete contrast
Mhm.
with the same mash bill.
The aroma leaves me wanting more. The nose on it, and I love Wild Turkey products, and I love this. But after the spice profiles from what we've gotten here so far, the nose leaves me wanting more on this one.
On the palate, you mean? Or-
No, on the nose.
Oh, you want more on the nose.
Oh,
Okay.
more on the nose. Yeah.
It is very light. It's very light on the nose, but see, it's to me, it's pleasant lightness, and then on the palate, that citrusy note comes through for me.
Yeah.
I get the
Yeah.
citrusy note.
Yeah, the
up
citrus
front.
comes right through. It's
Yep.
sweet.
Yeah. It's a super like citrus sweet bomb. It's almost
Mhm.
I'm gonna bring it out again. It's like you put sugar on just a whole plate full of citrus slices, and you've bruleed the sugar on that citrus. I'm getting those oils.
Not bad. Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good analogy.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling with this one.
This
And then topped with a mint
wonderful,
leaf.
wonderful though. Just wonderful.
And this is one of these that if you go to a bar and you see the outrageous bourbons on there and the prices are really outrageous, you can still get this for $6 to $8.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you're gonna like it just as much as you probably like, or maybe not just as much, but pretty close to what you would like for some of the top shelf stuff.
Mhm.
It really holds up.
Mhm.
I think this is a great one for an introduction when you sit down at the bar and you want something light to drink. And the fun thing about this is you can drink it neat, just as your palate opener for your dinner and your appetizers, or you could do it with a lighter based cocktail. I don't think I would do this in a spirit forward cocktail, just because I think you're going to lose those flavor profiles, especially if you're using an Amaro or types of bitters. I think it's going to cover up a lot of those flavor profiles. But something like a Kentucky Mule, since you've already got a lot of citrus here,
Mhm.
and then you're adding some ginger beer and a little bit of citrus with it, I think a light based cocktail would be really good for this.
See, this hangs around to me too, though.
Yeah.
It does.
It is. I mean,
It does.
it's been
It's still
30
going.
seconds, and I'm still, it's
Yeah.
still right there.
Yeah.
And so this one hangs with you, as I think turkey tends to do, though. for me at least. I mean,
Yeah.
from the
Wild turkey or just any turkey?
Well,
Well,
Thanksgiving
that's
turkey
what-
lingers somewhere
Yeah.
else.
I was trying to say I do fry some mean bird on Thanksgiving. So
This is the most classic rye to me that we've tasted so far. It's just the way I don't know the mint and the spice.
Yeah, it does have a
It's-
spicier note, a spicy note to it as well. Though. I mean, but
So if somebody wanted a classic mint profile or a rye profile, to me, this would be one to do. I think.
okay.
Yeah. It's interesting that it feels so light on the palate,
Mhm.
but that it lingers for so long. Yeah, that really kind of shocks me. I love this one.
Yeah.
This is a go-to for me.
So we are jumping into our final rye. And if you've heard something that you like, get out and get some of these. Give them a shot. I'm gonna tell you again. I cannot stress. Try everything. I've had some things I've regretted that statement with, but you should. You should try everything. You might be surprised with some of the things that you like. Only thing I knew about rye whiskey was a little harsh. I had the same thing with what was the absinthe.
Oh yeah.
You know, I was all I'd heard about absinthe was, oh gosh, no, that's just dangerous.
It's good.
So
I love absinthe.
Yeah.
And I tried it for the first time. In fact, with these two yahoos, and it was like, man, years of
We
not
fall on the
drinking.
opposite sides of the absinthe profile, though.
love.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
she,
there's only two relationships with absinthe. You either love it or you hate it.
Yes, that's true.
that's actually how we met because across the bar, but well, we have that absinthe too. And I've never had absinthe. Oh, you've never had
Yeah.
absinthe? I didn't even know her. We were literally sitting at the same bar. No idea who this person was. And she's just like, you haven't. And she was more excited than a child on Christmas morning. It was incredible. And the
Yeah.
next thing I know, we were
drinking absinthe together.
we're watching the little dripping tool, and she's like, "You're gonna love it."
Did I have my usual reaction?
I don't know. No one pays attention to you all the time.
I know.
So,
I'm just an afterthought.
you're like,
Oh, you're here?
you're like me with my wife's around. Like, she's the star of the show. I admit it. It's all good. So,
Yeah.
we are going into our final sample. This is a Sazerac, which Sazerac I think is really synonymous with rye, of course.
Yeah.
Sazerac's mash bill, and it is specific 51% Minnesota rye. So to you Minnesotans, this is your rye. 39% corn, and then malted barley. North Dakota malted barley. They're very specific on the mash bill on this one. So they really like the Canadian border, U.S. Canadian border type stuff there with this one. So a couple of years ago, really hard to get.
Yeah.
Really, really hard to get. Now,
It's everywhere.
more
It's
readily
everywhere,
available. Again, and we see that sometimes with brands. Pikesville was the same way at one point. So you do see that ebbs and flows of availability with some of these because again, they're having to clean out everything to remake these things, and once they, so some of the market things on these may be a little bit different than what you see with other brands. But Sazerac readily available now. I don't know what you see it for in other places, but
About 35 is about the average that I see it for.
yeah.
35.
Yeah, do you see it that way in California, Florida?
Yeah, because it's basically everywhere now. So
Okay.
in California, and
So even
yeah,
okay, and that's what we're
Florida
shooting.
also.
We wanted this video to things
Yeah.
that you could easily find.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about the Saz.
So while we're smelling and tasting, it's funny that you talked about absinthe a minute ago because New Orleans, typical classic Sazerac cocktail, which is made generally with Sazerac and herb saint. Absinthe was illegal here in the United States for a long time. We're not going to get into that because I know you guys are more interested in bourbon. But it is another video.
and rye whiskey.
And rye whiskey. But if you want the classic Sazerac cocktail, I highly recommend getting Sazerac and getting herb saint. And you can, and Peychaud's bitters, and you can make that Sazerac cocktail at home. And it's phenomenal.
Classic New Orleans.
Classic New Orleans. Bring
very
New
classic
Orleans,
New Orleans.
bring New Orleans home.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. I love Sazerac, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you. To me, this is even before I had Ryes, this was my thought of what a rye was.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean,
It still is that for me. If I want a classic rye whiskey, Sazerac is my go-to. Neat and cocktails, it doesn't matter. It's my go-to.
It is good.
It's very good.
It's
Yeah.
very, very good.
It's so easy to drink. It has that great balance of citrus and the spice and the sweetness and just enough menthol. I think it's just got everything.
It does have a lot going on. There's a ton going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I get with citrus from this one that I did from Wild Turkey. I still get some mint, but I don't get as much with the citrus.
I even get a little tobacco in there.
That's a good call.
I get a little tobacco in there.
I get a touch of tea.
Yeah.
See that too?
Yeah.
A lot of those herbal type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, on certain ryes, I get a lot of tea
Yep.
on the palate.
Yeah.
It's good. So Saz, obviously, I know
That's-
thumbs up here, so thumbs up across the board on Saz. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've gone through the 6 ryes. I hope that you guys have enjoyed, watching us taste and listen to some of the notes and things and the various opinions, of course,
Yeah.
that have come from these 6 ryes. Of the 6, not counting other ryes, but of the 6 favorites, Dave?
I think today it's going to be the Sazerac.
All right.
We finished it with it too, but I am enjoying it a lot.
What about second? Do we want to list our top 3? What are we thinking? Or just our favorites?
I go top 2.
Top
Top
2.
2. Top 2 is
Top
good.
two,
Top
okay.
2 is.
Okay.
Top
See,
two.
that male-female
There we go.
compromise. is
Look at
important.
that. I'll drink to that. Well,
Yeah.
you don't have anything
I don't
left.
need it. I'm all
Cheers to that.
I'll drink by myself to that.
So, second, Dave.
My second, I think, would be Michter's then.
Michter's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my top 2 are the Michter's and the Wild Turkey. I think the Michter's is probably the best balanced between the sweetness and the spiciness, the earthiness. Like it's very well balanced. The Wild Turkey, I love the citrus. I've had a few other ryes that have had like prominent citrus notes, and they're just at another level when it comes to rye, and I really like that profile. So those would be my 2.
Virginia.
Oh man.
Sorry, lady, it's the South. Ladies first.
I know.
She loves them all.
I do.
I know she does.
I do love them all for different
This woman
reasons.
has the most interesting palate of anybody you've ever met.
But you guys are already learning that. But Sazerac is obviously going to be my favorite today, and it's a hard pull between the Wild Turkey 101 and the Michter's. I do love that citrus with the 101, but I like the balance from the Michter's. I honestly, those are a tie for me. Yeah.
Way to go, Switzerland
So you-
about it.
I know.
You work in your top 3 without it. So
You're
this-
right.
you want your top 3, she got her top 3.
Yeah, she's still got, like every other woman.
Yeah.
She's still got her
She
way.
worked her way around it. And
I'll drink to that also.
I'm bad at Michter's is to me number 1. I would have to say anything Michter's. I'm just a huge Michter's guy. Number 2 for me is going to be Pikesville.
Oh.
And Pikesville, and I was debating between Pikesville and Wild Turkey, of course. But the Pikesville, I think the Pikesville rye is just sort of like a classic rye, of course, an older brand, etc. And it comes across to be just like a rye should. So I would say those 2. But
It's a good bourbon drinker's rye.
it is.
Yeah.
It's
And I
the
would-
perfect
yeah.
gateway rye.
Oh yeah,
is the way I look
yeah.
at it.
And we're sitting amongst a lot of bourbon drinkers, and we're bourbon drinkers. I mean, I'm not, you see closed bottles on my bar. We open them up. Bourbon's for drinking, not for looking at. So
That's right.
You collectors out there, open the damn bottle.
That's right.
So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Is it the like and subscribe thing that I'm supposed to say? Yeah. Like and subscribe. And I
And
love,
drink more
we
whiskey.
love comments. So do comment in the comment section on the video. And again, thank you. And we will see you at the next one.